I remember PvZ being a real problem for one of the dream hacks.
Yeah.
Because it was just like... Well, I thought it was like the season finals. I remember casting with Maynard. I was like, okay, time for like our billionth PvZ.
I just remember no one wanted to cast PvZ finals in the last year.
Yes, that's very true. Actually, the one that I got with Maynard was a Trap versus like Cyril or Raynor, I think. Trap versus Raynor. And that was actually quite fun. That was before Mass Stargate really took over.
Yeah.
And Trap in particular was still thankfully being, you know,
fun.
Cool.
It's like, don't insult them too hard.
I was like, yeah, I'm insulting every other Protoss.
But to be fair, Trap was like the one Protoss for a little while. You know, Zest was like up and down every day. And then Trap was like some more consistent, but then
yeah,
you know, we got some more Protoss hope since then, so you know, Hero wasn't back then as well. So yeah.
Well, now all Protoss are cool.
All Protoss are cool because PvZ is fun again.
Yeah, and I dare say that at certain points, man, it is better than the TVZs of tournaments.
Oh yeah.
I dare say.
I mean, PvZ now almost feels how like TvZ can be in the mid game, but like isn't in the late game, obviously, because TvZ slows down a lot.
Right. Yeah, because I actually think that is what makes matchups dynamic and interesting, is just how much happens, basically, right? From start to finish. PvZ is still mostly, you know, getting to 4 hatch versus 3 base, I guess, nowadays. But I think TVT is really the only one that has maybe a questionable intro. Now ZVZ as well, actually, in PvP. The mirror matchups have some interesting openers, but the other matchups, it's like, okay, we kind of solidified 2022 StarCraft. We're all going to get these bases, so on and so forth. But there are a few players who don't like that trend, who's still trying to be very aggressive. I do think Rex can throw a wrench into things. I know we did absolutely 0 player introductions, but he's a classic and Rex, guys.
Oh, cool. I didn't even realize, actually. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rex, when I cast him in another time the other day, and just very aggressive in this matchup. Not afraid to Ling Flood, be, you know, aggro up in his opponent's face, really just trying to get the better of his opponent early. That's definitely kind of Rex, but if I'm Classic going into this and I feel pretty good, I think I'm just going to be building a lot of Oracles early, always opening Stargate, no need to go too crazy on the switch-ups. Which, to be fair, is kind of like the normal PvZ now anyways, which is kind of why I suppose Rex's style is a little bit kind of scuffed right now, because, like, you're wanting to play Link Floods into, you know, meta where Stargates are even more popular than they used to be, right? This is not the time of Twilight Councils and Resonating Glaives. Even for switch-ups, they are somewhat a rarity.
Classic will be going into a very standard thing for Protoss right now, which is probably into the triple Oracle. And yeah, you just get more afterwards. I do think that if Rex wanted to try and be the Zerg player who hits the right beats to build Lings and annoy a Protoss player who's looking to do this exact type of damage, not lose an Oracle, I mean, I think he could be effective with it, but he has not chosen to do so this game. So specifically trying to hit that third base while the Oracles are being aggressive has not happened. And Rex actually also was a bit delayed in that +1 melee, having to chase around the Oracles, I believe. Our observer just pointed out the gas scouts, or just in general, really, the lack of scouting from Rex, which, I mean, fortunately isn't going to be a huge problem because there are 4 gases. If this was a 3 gas attack, then I think Rex would be in a bit of trouble. But it is just a little bit of pressure with the Adepts and Oracles. And then, yes, into Blink. Possibly a proxy gateway, just because we did have a very, you know, important decision here. Does not go into Robo. Streamlines a Blink Stalker attack pretty well.
Yeah, and skipping by that Robo just allows the Blink Stalkers to come up nicely. You get a good amount. There's oftentimes that kind of group of Stalkers moving out just before Blink even, and just being very annoying, kind of pinging out of 4th base. That's something that Zergs have struggled with, because you might just think, well, surely those Stalkers died to like a group of Lings. Yeah, but that's what the Oracles are great for, right? They can protect the Stalkers against those Lings, so it gives the Stalkers freedom on the map early. And that is a possibility here. But, I mean, Classic is just happy to macro hard. 4th base starts here before 6 minutes. Still waiting on those upgrades. Again, more Stalkers. Rex is actually the one who's making units at the moment, maybe looking for a cancel on that 4th base. But the units, they just start kind of moving out. He is going to spot some of these Lings here. That's good for Classic. He's not going to be out of position for this attack.
He's going to clean this up and maybe even start to move across the map. You know, Blinking +1 is not done, but if he does get a scout also on further pressure, so sees that the Ling count's really not that intimidating, he can start to move across and start pretty much the engagement. Because if a Protoss can get across the map, start that Blink micro, force the Zerg to respond to them, they do actually get to be the bigger bully for a little while. And that's a big difference, I feel like, of this PvZ and previous iterations. The Protoss is out in the map, and not just completely, utterly terrified of being surrounded at all times. A lot of that's to do with both the streamline of the build, the amount of Blink Stalkers, but then also the Oracles providing some coverage. So it is actually just right as we speak, kind of a whack-a-mole situation, trying to keep track of where the Lings are going.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it, at least because then the Stalkers don't get into too aggressive a spot anywhere, but of course, this is costing Rex. He's made a lot of Lings. You know, his economy is not great. 72 probes to 64 drones, so the Zerg is down on eco. And it just feels like Classic, he's going to get a larger and larger force. He's not afraid to attack up here either. You can already see him moving straight through intervals +2 charge. So absolutely improving his future here as well. And you know, Rex will just find a probe that's down the bottom side, maybe looking for like yet another base, maybe. So yeah, getting pretty good right here, right now for us play. I like it a lot for Classic, who is going to come around, knock down some rocks. Rex trying to go up into Hive, but I feel like he's going to have some troubles before Hive is done.
I do think that Rex has had a less streamlined build, right? I think that you said it made a lot of Lings, hasn't really done a lot with them. So I'd feel a lot better for Rex if he was at 85 drones and in the same exact situation. That said, of course, if he didn't have enough Lings to pressure Classic, maybe Classic has provided more pressure than he has, which is really none. And still doesn't have a Robo. This is still no War Prism to play. But he is getting to a Hive. Rex is getting to a Hive. He's going to get to Adrenal Glands. He is going to be allowed, I guess, to kind of get to the late game, which I really was not expecting. I didn't think Classic was going to play super, super late game, really very light on any type of pressure, just perch on some rocks. That was it. And then going into Storm and Charge. So either he just has supreme confidence in the late game, which more power to him, or he was a little bit scared of Ling run-bys and Ling surrounds with how much we're on the field.
Yep.
Or both.
Yes. These few Banes going to get out, by the way, straight into that Stalker wall. And this is well defended by Classic, who is going to have a Stasis Ward on the other side to catch the new Banelings trying to move up. And so far, Rex can't quite catch a break when it comes to trying to deal some damage. He can go in here and there, but Classic's defense has been good. And Classic's army generally over time here is going to become scarier and scarier because it just gets more and more tech in it. He's got a 5th base online again. His economy is just insane. 87 probes. And Rex opting to go into the Ultras. It's going to be fun to see if they can be really that influential. I feel like against this amount of Stalkers and so on, even without Immortals, these Ultras will just melt a lot of the time.
Really is context-based, isn't it? Defensively, with the potential for a surround and the help of Lings and Creep, Ultras are probably pretty good until Immortals start making their way into the game. With Classic defending, Ultra's not so good. Ultra's kind of tough. So there is that. So if Rex, I mean, handles this basically well enough. You know, when we look at the two names, Rex has been playing for a very long time, but we still give Classic a lot more of the credit of being a very stable, you know, high confidence player no matter what stage it is, or what stage of the game or stage of the tournament it is. I don't know if we're thinking of Rex as the same type of player. He might start to falter the longer the game goes, the more that he's allowed to be in certain positions that he didn't expect himself to be. But let's say that he does play this out very well. I do think he's built up to everything that a Zerg player would ever want to have, and he just took out maybe about half the High Templars there, kind of catching Classic off guard, while getting to those Ultras, getting to the upgrades, getting to a drop into the main base. I just thought there'd be a little more contention. Rex is actually going to be able to play out a pretty feisty late game PvZ if he plays it well.
Yeah, this fight's interesting. These Stalkers going to blink away from the Lings, and they are going to get rid of one Ultra. The drop in the main base is obviously going kind of crazy, and you've got to respond to that. The Lings on top of the Robos as well, as we just want to start building Immortals. First one goes down. Okay, we're just going to start a somewhat base trading. There's obviously it's not so many units on the counterattack from Rex that Classic shouldn't be able to clean it up. So maybe more of just Classic saying, I'll deal with that with reinforcements, and I'm just going to attack over here as storm down his own Archon. He gets rid of the Ultra, and there's just these Lings that are, I guess, genuinely going to become an issue against what is almost purely Stalkers again.
Yeah, very true. Rex, though, I think he already took too much damage. He was taking the engagement out in the field. Okay, big wraparound, so hold on here. Big wraparound. Let's see how effective this is. Extremely effective with fully upgraded Lings, or Adrenal Gland Lings, I should say. 2-1 on them as well. So, okay, maybe he hasn't taken enough damage. Lose a base. Hasn't really had a lot of the drones transferring over to the other fresh bases either. It is still interesting. But anyways, the fight that he took in the middle of the map before Classic was actually on his base was without chitinous plating. And I do think that I think it was an Ultra that died, and the other Ultra had to use up a lot of transfuses, otherwise it would not have. I actually think it's even better hold, right? Rex might even be 10 supply ahead as opposed to 10 supply behind. Either way, though, was going to be a difficult one, and he does lose a base for it. We'll see how he's able to roll out of this. His Classic is still pretty comfortably on 5 bases, but another big round of lane drops.
Yeah, Oracle's in the main base here. Zealot's warping in immediately, and you even have a Phoenix popping out, and I love this because there's nothing to actually stop this Phoenix from pinging on the Overlord, so could actually just, chip away at those over time. Things elsewhere not going to do as much. So Classic, just now that he's aware of the potential of these attacks, very much so better at defending them already. See what the Balin drop can do. I mean, double cannon here to hit the Overlord immediately. It's likely that just goes down. 3 probes, good pull away from Classic just to ensure it does very little. And Classic now with Immortals on the way as he's got his Robos rebuilt is absolutely going to have the best force possible to really start taking on these Ultras.
You know what also really sucks about Rex's loss of that base and the delayed mining of his other 2 bases? Is that you just looking at the mini-map 2 minutes ago, those top left bases had no drones. And that has changed since then, but that was a big gap in his income. Is that because he killed the Robos, if he could have built 4 Ultras and then another 4 Ultras before Classic had a single Immortal on the field, I wonder what type of harassment he'd have then, what type of run-bys he'd have then. But now that Immortals are being built, and there's also, of course, been more time to build up Archon numbers as well, I do think we're talking about just a pretty perfect anti-Ling Baneling Ultra Force from the Protoss.
Yeah, it is funny, right? Because there was definitely a time, and especially with the Stalkers getting wiped out too, it's, what do you want to warp in right now? Well, not really too many Stalkers, at least not enough to be able to deal with Ultras properly, so yeah, it actually becomes kind of an interesting question in that regard, and obviously, the time kind of passed for it, and now Classic's army does just look very good. The Zealots on the picture-in-picture will not do much of anything that's on the right side of the map, but this top-side army is going to be nigh on unstoppable. The Ultras apparently just going to chase those Zealots down, which I think Classic is fine with, because it just gives him more time to be successful here. And the drones? Every day see those guys evacuated via Overlord.
That was really cute. You managed to save 2 Overlords from earlier, I guess, and I was like, why not? Indeed, why not? Classic is going to take down 2 very important bases of Rex, and Rex is not able to take any more bases because those charge lots are still around, so he couldn't just try and replace, to the bottom right, and he's not going to be able to replace the ones that he just lost either because Classic's army is still very capable of staying out in the map and doing more damage and stopping any further advancement from Rex. Rex is going to need a really good surround to actually get a good engagement, which Classic... There are a couple of places on the map where a good surround could happen, but as long as it kind of keeps to the chokes and the corners, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Rex going to maybe force an open situation by attacking into a very defenseless Nexus. But even this isn't good enough. This is not going to be a full surround for the Zerg, so it is going to be a tap on the Nexus. Goodbye. But Rex still has a lot of recovery to do.
Yeah, he is going to come back through the center of the map. The mobility of his army is its one big strength, and he's using that part of it pretty well, catches himself in a Immortal here, but these Ultras turn around into that main army, and that's not really what you want to be having happen. And as GC Classic is now going to be the one to give chase a little bit, and the Ultras pathing around in some different directions. Need to be careful, you do not want to be giving these up for free. I think Classic's down on only 4 bases. Does this become from Classic an attack where he's never going to turn around from it? There are 36 Banelings on the way, but there's a lot of Storms, a lot of Archons, and a lot of Immortals.
Yeah, it's still a super tanky army, even if the Storms don't come down, but obviously you're planning on at least 1 or 2 to help. And the surround's already not going to be good enough. Already Ultra's dying. Banelings roll in pretty much from one direction. It turns into a surround eventually, but the army of the Protoss is literally so strong that even though I think it would have been timed well against like a bio army of Terran, it was not timed well at all. Even if it was perfectly timed, does it beat an army like that? I don't think so. Yeah. It's just so
I don't
so
think it was
tanky.
going to win. Yeah. I don't think there's any world in which that army of Rex is actually going to be successful. Like, not in a straight-up fight. That's why he was doing a good job of running around, hitting the base, going elsewhere.
Yep.
But it's almost funny because the moment he got Classic to 4 bases, Classic cared a bit less because he didn't have anywhere else to defend. So he's like, I'll chase you up the left side. And then where's Rex meant to go? Like, back down all the way, wrap around towards another base down there? Well, by then he would have lost 2-3 bases himself, right? It's just not enough. He maybe needed his army to be split into 2 different parts. Maybe that could have been a bit more successful, a bit more kind of in and out, made it more difficult for Classic to say, this is my chance to go across the map. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, as Rex there, you need to just have that Protoss army shaved down over time or enough eco damage done earlier to stop the Protoss army getting there,
Mm.
or a transition of your own because you just don't beat that army with Lings and Ultras and a couple of Banelings. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and he was even trying to get fungals, which I actually don't think would have impacted the fight that much either. They would have slowed down the fight, though, which I think is still very important to note. Had he gotten some infestors, let's say 4 infestors that could chain fungal to literally slow down the army, just literally slow down the push, then again, maybe something else happens. But assuming that it does only slow it down, it still gets across the map all together, all combined. Yeah, it just beats an army like what Rex had. So, in a very ideal world for the Zerg, other things that happen in that game, the army of the Protoss gets disjointed, or their economy stays intact so well that they can trade out consistently, or they get to Broodlords, which also still requires a very good economy. It's definitely not possible for Rex in that game. See how Game 2 unfolds in Cosmic Sapphire. Top left, Yellow Protoss, Classic.
Bottom right, Purple Zerg, Rex.
Good interest.
I just thought matching. Synergy. CG, synergy.
Exactly. We have such
It's
good
like,
synergy.
earlier, I was like, unless you have something to say, ZG, I was like, I know for a fact she's got nothing to say, so I'm just gonna, offer it up, but keep on talking anyway. Cast a synergy. Ooh.
Yeah, and you were absolutely correct. So, well done.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, I do think we kind of talked about the fundamentals of that last game enough. Bit to death. Just the late game scenario was bound to play out kind of as expected. Kind of what happened. Just took 6 minutes of a little bit of maneuvering, a little bit of what if. But I still am surprised that it just got there. From both sides. Rex didn't get overly... Well, I mean, he did have a lot of lings, but still, I wouldn't say overly aggressive. And then Classic, not really aggressive at all. Completely macro.
Yeah, there was that big moment. I feel like Classic was definitely ready to move out. Like you said, he had like +1 and Blink coming through. And I think in that moment, he was like about to move out, and the Lings came down looking for a cancel on the 4th. And Classic was like, oh, well, I'll kill these Lings. And then that's the moment where the Zerg the Protoss maybe first moves out. And I feel from there, like, the attacks follow on from that point, right? And because he never felt comfortable after that point, he's like, you already made a group of Lings. What if he has more? I'm a little bit afraid. I know this guy's aggressive, so let's just kind of sit back a bit instead. It felt like from there he kind of lost his confidence a bit and kind of moving onto the map for a long time. And that gave Rex a little bit more freedom to kind of, survive and to push it into a later stage of the game, which was, again, maybe a little unexpected on his part as well. So, yeah, it was kind of an interesting game in that regard, because it definitely wasn't the type of game I thought we were going to cast here when I signed up for Classic versus Rex today.
Yeah. I actually thought I might have get down and dirty. Classic tries to go for the Blink Stalker, smooth push out control, and then suddenly Rex does have 40 Lings more than Classic expected, and then Classic handles it well enough, and we still give him more credit to the later game, because name value for here, guys. But no, it was way more, it was way cleaner, I guess. Passive and exactly the right word, because there's always that potential of those Lings, there's always the potential of the Stalkers moving out. But yeah, we'll see what Cosmic Sapphire can give us, because if anything, it'll just give us a very similar game. It's the biggest map that we have, actually. And if Classic is once again threatened, might be the right word, threatened by Rex's Ling count, then he might just play up to the 4 or 5 bases. But I will say that Cosmic Sapphire, I think, is a little less abusive on as far as the walls go. I think our last map, the third base, the third base having the gateway wall to the north, I think really must bother a lot of Zergs that they can't break that.
Yeah, I guess this map's a little bit less friendly for walling. Do you feel like this map kind of pushes you toward each other a bit more? As Classic takes this third base. This kind of pathway down this right side, like all on the high ground, is actually pretty nice to walk along with Stalkers. You're fairly safe. It's not easy for the Zerg to surround you around there, so it's something that can sometimes encourage a bit more kind of aggression too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if either player kind of makes kind of major differences to their game plan based on the map, because you're right, overall, the map should play fairly similarly.
I guess Classic didn't really go for the gateway wall last game, but he could have, and it still was well defended anyways. But just in general, perhaps, more run by opportunity here, maybe. I mean, I know Hero likes to play... Oh, okay, cancel there. Likes to play left side of the map in Classic's position, literally in Classic position. His opener, his spawn position, so he'll play this space, and then he'll even take the gold sometimes, and that is quite interesting, because it kind of pushes you into Rex's fourth, and it keeps up with the idea that Protoss can now be the one that's in control and on the aggression constantly. But I feel like even Hero sort of shy away from that a little bit once he got punished for it. As we have Classic taking the kind of typical triangle third, but huge differences. Huge differences in this game. Out of the Robo, first of all. Second of all, Charge. Templar Archives already on the way, so a little more of a mid-game Zealot Archon attack perhaps, and if Rex is thinking, oh, Link Stalkers, very similar pacing to last game, he'd be in a lot of trouble. So I think it is fortunate that he's getting a Roachwarn. Maybe he's picked up on this.
Yes. Yeah. If he's just playing Lings, this absolutely gets very troubling very quickly. Classic is, I would say, almost somewhat known for playing like this as well, right? Quite aggressive, someone who's not afraid to just say, right, I'm going to get in your face, just get a lot of units out and see if it can kill you early. And, yeah, he's adding on more and more gateways, so he's definitely not slowing down with it. Obviously, no gases on that third base with this. And we're even going to see the Oracles are going to activate for fourth base cancel, which they should be able to get unless Queens aren't going to be coming running over. Oh, no cancel? Hello? That's not good.
Probably went to focus fire at the exact time he should have been canceling.
Yeah.
That hurts a lot. And then I am not sure that Rex actually knows what's happening. It's good that he got a Roachwarn, because there was perhaps just general doubts in his mind, but then he hasn't actually picked up on a potential move out.
He's not making anything, right?
Yeah, well, that helps. Okay. Now the push is severely delayed, and I think you just don't do it. Honestly, like, if the Archons are there, they control the space, they warp in a bunch of charge lots, it gets tricky. Warpersm gone. It's like, okay, on to the next thing. Classic was pretty damn quick about it, too. Okay, Robo, Nexus. Never mind, don't worry about it.
Yeah. He's like, oh, these two Archons that just dropped out of the prism you killed? No, don't worry about those. There's nothing coming your way, mate. We're good, right? Storm now on the way. He's like, this is always a macro game. You're never in trouble. Yeah.
It's actually kind of crazy how different that made this. Rex, he still made the fatal mistake of not canceling a base, so 300 minerals down the drain plus the drone, but now he is up to 82 drones, and he's getting double hatcheries to make up for that. And Classic doesn't have really anything out in the map. So, I don't know. I feel like now I like it for Rex. It's weird.
Yeah, I think in this case we probably should like it for Rex in general, right? Because, I mean, you kind of destroyed the entire plan of the Protoss player. So, typically should be good. We'll see what he can turn it into. His drone count's way better this game already, of course. And that's one of the things about how the Protoss player plays. The way they play that kind of Stalker opening. It's because you can get so many probes with it, right? Like, that's definitely part of the reasoning behind playing in that way in the first place. So, yeah, kind of excited to see what we get for this game right now, I suppose. As we have, basically it's slowing down. I guess Rex shouldn't be able to find too much aggression. This is a fairly defendable set of bases, so yeah, we will see. Storm's going to be done. That's good against the Lings, the Veins, the Hydras, pretty much anything that Rex is building. So nice to see Classic with that so quickly. It'll be interesting to see what Rex does about it. A lot of the time it's obviously just about dodging, but we'll see if he has anything in particular planned to follow up. He's actually going to start some Mutalisks. I don't hate it.
I don't hate that either. I think that's okay. Rex was severely supply blocked. I do want to note that, since it was pretty big. But with 8 Overlords popping at once, I won't have to worry about that anymore. That it delayed his production of units a little bit, specifically the Mutas. So, Mutas will cause some disruption. Then you go into more of Link Bailing Hydra. Could we even have Rex go ahead and skip forward to Lurkers? I would not hate that either. But currently just continuing to get more drones, more bases, and yes, maxing out on Link Bailing Hydra. So at least going to be prepared for any Classic push. I have Class actually moving to the bottom left, probably the worst time possible. Yeah, there's no cannon in the natural.
Yeah, this is pretty bad for Classic because he's even going to drop a gold base down there. It's pretty bad for Classic because obviously it's just the Mutas are showing up, and because Rex is not building more Mutas, he's going to be prepared for an attack as well. He's got Banes rolling into that third base too. And Classic is going to lose a lot of probes over here. 31 probes have died. Okay, Classic's in serious trouble. Holy.
Yeah, right? Damn. Feels so weird to say it's all back off the back of that one Warp Prism, but
Yeah.
kind of is. Even though Classic pivoted as if nothing was wrong. He did pivot very quickly. But it just feels like it's what started this whole thing. This whole not performing very well against the Mutas into the performing against the Banelings. And now having to perform against the Baneling Hydra max outs, which I think Classic can still do. It is not game over, but it is certainly the best game for Rex against, I don't know, one of the top Protoss players. I suppose there is some contention about that, but still, it's one of the best games for Rex that I think he'll ever have.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a very good chance to close out here. These Banes not doing much, though. I mean, the Archons did a really good job of soaking there. The Storms are freaking disgusting! Yeah, we cast that one, didn't we? We just died as well. Holy crap. Classic's gonna just destroy this army, guys. Never mind.
Yeah, never mind. I just, you know what? We'll stop. We'll stop. I don't know why we get paid to do this, honestly. It's like, Rex is okay. Oh, wait, no. And his hatchery killed. Well, Classic might just win with this. Nope, his Warp Prism died.
It's just one of those games, to be honest. I mean, that was just the best fight for Classic. He was very aware of what was going on. He wasn't caught, like, in the moment or anything, right? And I think that's the issue. Like, if there's a run by somewhere, then you engage in, it's so difficult for the pros to prioritize. But in this case, he's just like, oh, I see your attack. You're definitely coming from two angles. Gets the storms off. All the Banes are very clumped up as well, so it's quite easy to place those storms in the correct places. And now Classic shutting down run-bys everywhere, so now he's looking really good. Yeah, I just feel like it was obviously a good defense from Classic, but it was almost uninspired from Rex. It was like, I'm just going to attack you and win. And maybe that's because of how much damage he did, but it's still a strong Protoss army. We saw that ourselves, and I feel like that's something Rex should have identified and try to do a little bit better against us. Now, does he just die right here? He might.
In before... I actually don't know how a Protoss kills himself in this situation.
Storms his own army, move commands into Banes.
Even then, I'm not sure.
Yeah, even then. I mean, gets the Prism to start. That's definitely a good start from Rex. It's one of the best you can ask for, but the Immortals are basically soloing the Hydras on the left. The Archons are creating a wall on the top and the right. Like, no units of Rex can actually properly join this battle at this stage. And this is just going to be Classic continuing through. Going to start taking down structures in this natural as well. The Immortals are just untouchable, apparently. They are not dying to anything that comes in range of them.
It's a very funky game, but the result is perhaps expected.